Speak. Finally. At last.
We're under attack!
What is it now? This is more like it.
Faithless coward.
Frostmourne hungers. Tread lightly. Finally. Frostmourne hungers. No one orders me around. At last. Finally. This is more like it. Tread lightly. No one orders me. For the Lich
Our
King.
allied town is being attacked!
Finally. At last. This is more like it. Tread lightly. Frostmourne hungers. What is it now? Speak, fool. Tread lightly.
Welcome to our village.
What is it now? Tread lightly. At last. Speak, fool. Finally. Frostmourne hungers. This is more like it. Finally. Frostmourne hungers. Finally. Now, Frostmourne. At last. Finally. Frostmourne hungers.
Our allied
Finally.
town is being attacked!
At last. This is more like it. Tread lightly. What is it now?
Point the way.
No one orders me around. Speak, fool. Frostmourne hungers.
Point the way.
This is more like it. Finally. This is more like it. Finally. You will know endless torment. Frostmourne hungers.
Point the way.
What is it now? This is more like it. Finally. Frostmourne hungers. This is more like it. Finally. Frostmourne hungers. At last. Finally.
Point the way.
Speak, fool. Frostmourne hungers. At last. Frostmourne hungers. At last. Frostmourne hungers. What is it now?
Point the way.
Speak, fool.
Point the way.
What is it now? No one orders me around. Faithless coward. At last. At last. Finally. At last. Finally.
Our
At
allied
last.
hero has been slain!
Frostmourne hungers. At last. This is more like it. No one orders me around. Finally. Frostmourne hungers. This is more like it. At last. Finally. At last.
We're under attack! Our allied town is being attacked!
Now. Frostmourne hungers. Tread lightly. This is more like it. Now. Frostmourne hungers. This is more like it. Finally. This is more like it. I'm sure you suffer. At last. What is it now?
Our allied town is being attacked!
Finally. At last.
Point the way.
Tread lightly. No one orders me around. Finally. At last. This is more like it. At last. This is more like it. Tread lightly. At last. This is more like it. At
Our
last.
allied hero has been slain!
Speak, fool. Frostmourne hungers. At last. Frostmourne hungers.
Our hero has been slain!
Tread lightly. This is more like it. At last. Speak, fool. This is more like it. Tread lightly. Frostmourne hungers. At last. Frostmourne hungers. No one orders me around. Finally. This is more like it. Finally. Frostmourne hungers. Finally. At last. Finally. At last. Frostmourne hungers. At last. Finally. This
Our
is more
allied
like
town
it.
is being attacked.
Frostmourne hungers. This is more like it. Frostmourne hungers. At last. Frostmourne hungers. Finally. No one orders me around. At last. For the Lich King. Frostmourne hungers. Faithless. At last. What is it now? Finally. This is at last. Speak, fool. What is it now? Tread lightly. Finally. Frostmourne hungers. At last.
Our allied town is being
No one
attacked.
orders me. Finally. This is more like it. Finally. This is more like it. At last. Frostmourne hungers. At last. Frostmourne hungers. This is more like it.
Point the
Our
way.
hero has been slain.
Point the way.
Our allied town is being attacked.
Point the way.
Tread lightly. Finally. This is more like it. What is it now? No one orders me around. At last. This is more like it. Frostmourne hungers. Finally. At last. This is more like it. Frostmourne hungers. For the Lich King. Finally. Frostmourne hungers. This is more like it. Speak, fool. What is it now? At last. Finally. At last. This is more like it. Your pain shall be legendary. At last. Frostmourne hungers. At last. Finally. Speak, fool. This is more like it. At last. Frostmourne hungers. Tread lightly. At last. Finally.
Our allied town is being attacked.
This is more like it. Frostmourne hungers.
Our allied
This is
hero
more
has
like
been
it.
slain.
Finally. This is more like it. At last. Finally.
Our allied town is
What is
being
it now?
attacked.
Frostmourne hungers. Finally. Speak, fool. This is more like it. What is it now? Finally. This is more like it. No one orders me around. Frostmourne hungers. This is more like it.
Our allied hero has been slain. Our allied town is being attacked.
At last. Finally. Frostmourne hungers. Faithless. Speak, fool. Finally.
Our allied town is
Tread
being
lightly.
attacked.
At last. Frostmourne hungers. No one orders me
Point the
around.
way.
Tread lightly. No one orders me around. What is it now? No one orders me.
Our allied town is
What
being
is it
attacked.
now? At last. Finally. This is more like it. Finally. This is more like it. Frostmourne hungers. This is more like it. At last. Finally. Frostmourne hungers. This is more like it. At last. Frostmourne hungers. This is more like it.
Our
Finally.
allied hero has been slain.
Frostmourne hungers. At last. Finally. At last. Frostmourne hungers. Finally.
Our allied town
Frostmourne
is being
hungers.
attacked.
This is more like it. Frostmourne hungers.
Our hero has been slain.
No one orders me around. This is more like it.
We
What
need
is it
more
now?
gold.
Tread lightly. Frostmourne hungers. This is more like it. Finally. Frostmourne hungers. At last. What is it now? This is more like it. Frostmourne hungers. This is more like it. At last. This is more like it. Frostmourne hungers. At last. Frostmourne hungers. This is more like it. At last. No one orders me around. Finally. At last. This is more like it. Frostmourne hungers. This is more like it. Frostmourne hungers. Speak, fool. Finally. What is it now? At last. Frostmourne hungers. Finally. Tread lightly. Speak, fool. Frostmourne hungers. At last. Your pain is legendary. Tread lightly. What is it now? Frostmourne hungers. This is more like it. Speak, fool. Finally. This is more like it.
Our hero has been slain. Our allied town
No one
is being
orders
attacked.
me around. At last. Frostmourne hungers. At last. This is more like it. Frostmourne hungers. What is it now? Speak, fool. What is it now? At last. Frostmourne hungers. This is more like it. Tread lightly. Speak, fool. Finally. Frostmourne hungers. I'll make sure you suffer. This is more like it. At last. Frostmourne hungers. At last. Finally. At last. Finally. At last. This is more like it. Frostmourne hungers. At last.
allied town is being attacked. Our hero has been slain. Our allied town is being attacked.
What is it now? No one orders me around.
Our allied town is
Tread
being
lightly.
attacked.
Frostmourne hungers. Ah, at last. Frostmourne hungers. Finally. Frostmourne hungers. Ah, at last. Frostmourne hungers.
Our allied
Finally.
town is being attacked.
Ah, at last. Frostmourne hungers. Finally. This is more like it. Ah, at last. Finally. Frostmourne hungers. Finally. This is more like it.